Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And if you like suppressors and suppressed guns, I think you're going to like the gun that I'll be reviewing today. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Ruger Mark IV 2245SD. So this is an integrally suppressed Ruger Mark IV 2245 made in collaboration with Maxim Defense, who made the suppressor. Now this just isn't a suppressor screwed onto a threaded barrel. The barrel actually comes well into the suppressor and there are ports in it, making it just like an integrally suppressed AR or an MP5. It gives for a much better level of suppression. And you can also see how the suppressor mates up with this receiver absolutely perfectly. This is the same diameter as the receiver. That is a really slick and cool design, and I can't wait to get this thing to the range and shoot it. In fact, it looks like a gun that is featured in one of the video games that I absolutely love to play called Hitman, and this is actually one of the quietest guns in that game. So it's really cool to actually get to shoot the gun that the gun in the game is based off of. And that's actually how I originally got into firearms so many years ago. I loved the firearms in the games, and I was like, it'd be so cool to shoot those. So I started to investigate those and wanted to collect them, and that's how I began my firearms journey. But before we get this thing to the range and see how quiet it actually is and how well it shoots, as always, I want to thank the people that make these videos possible. First and foremost is the person that has lent this to the channel for review. His name is Jack. In fact, he's the second person named Jack to lend guns to the channel, so I call him Jack number 2. And the fact that this is an NFA item, I have to give him a huge thanks because he is here while I'm filming this so I can make this review, because this is his gun with the suppressor, which is an NFA item, so I cannot thank Jack enough for his time to allow me to film this. I always want to thank my Patreon supporters as always, because through their monthly donations and support, they help keep the lights on around here. And if you guys want to join my Patreon and see all these videos early, you can do it for as little as $1 a month. And there's a link in the description below. And as always, I want to thank my primary sponsor, because he provides all the ammunition for these range reports, thus making them financially feasible, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And I know if you're here watching this review, most likely you have a great taste in firearms yourself, and you probably own a Beretta 92, a CZ75, a Browning High Power, or even a 1911, which, by the way, this particular Ruger takes 1911 grips. And you've been thinking to yourself, it would be great to have a set of customized wood grips for my fine firearm. Well, I have the perfect company for you, Brownworks. Brownworks is a custom grip company making a wide variety of grips for a wide variety of firearms that have a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. Mark over there, he's an artist, he's a craftsman. Every set of grips he makes is one of a kind and made to order. He can put on custom logos, custom engravings, custom finishes. He even makes his own custom laminate woods. And he can even apply exotic materials like snakeskin and alligator skin to your grips. Everything is made to order and to your specifications. His customer service is also outstanding. And I'm going to put a link to his website in the comments section below, as well as a coupon code for 10% off your first order. I'm going to ask you guys to go over there and see what he has to offer. And if you don't see what you're looking for, make sure to contact Mark, because he can make everything, and everything is customized to you. And when you do contact him, please tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so let's talk about this really cool intricately suppressed pistol before taking it to the range. Once again, this is the Ruger Mark IV 2245 SD, made in collaboration with Maxim Defense. The suppressor is a monocore suppressor. It is an optics-ready firearm. The only thing that the owner, Jack, has done to this gun to customize it is he did put on this little charging hook in the back. Because some people think that these little charging handle wings in the back are kind of small. This just gives you a little bit of extra place to put your finger and to make sure you can charge the weapon. Now, according to Maxim Defense, this gun, using CCI mini mags, which are supersonic ammunition, you should get about 123 decibels to the shooter's left ear. And it also has a little bit more back pressure if you're running different types of ammunition to give you a more reliable cycling. They also claim the suppressor does not have the first round pop that you normally get with many suppressors with this particular monocore design. So that's pretty cool, and I can't wait to fire it and actually see if that's the case. But before we get to the range, as always, I like to talk about the things that I like and don't like about the guns, and I always want to start with the positive first. And let's talk about the big thing about this gun. It's intricately suppressed, and that's what makes this gun so cool. It's just not your standard Ruger 2245. Now, I have reviewed the Mark IV 2245 in the past and absolutely loved it, and this is just a really cool option to have with it. I'm really impressed with this particular model gun. Although I might not be the biggest Ruger fan or the biggest Ruger collector, I do have a great appreciation for their rimfire guns. I think that they are just simply well designed, and I've never had a major issue with them. They're just solid rimfire pistols, and so adding this suppressor to it as part of the package is just so cool. I do like the fact that this gun is ready for optics. I know a lot of people today run red dots on every pistol that they own. It's just a cool new thing, and for them to come out with the gun already set up for that, I think is absolutely fantastic. I know they have a number of these different plates which can be screwed on for all the different types of red dots that you may have, from the Trigicons to all of the other footprints. So I don't think you'd have a problem depending on what type of red dot you want to have. Another thing about this gun, which is a huge positive, is the absolutely gigantic aftermarket. In many ways, this is kind of like a Glock. There are so many companies that make aftermarket parts for these Mark IV pistols, both the standard and the 2245. And by the way, the difference between the standard model and the 2245 is this has a more natural, in my opinion, 1911 style grip, where the standard have a much more angled grip. And I guess depending on what your personal preferences are, you can go with either design, but I really like the fact they give you a feel of a 1911 in a 22 caliber pistol like this. The last thing about this pistol that I really like handling it here on the workbench is this trigger. The Mark IV triggers, I think, are really good out of the box. They might not be the lightest triggers out there, but for a stock trigger, I actually think they're pretty darn good, and I've never had a problem with them whatsoever and never seen a need to change them out. So let me go ahead and adjust the camera. Let me get out the Lyman trigger pull weight gauge, and let's test how light this trigger actually is, and I'll also show you its reset and its pull. Alright, so I told you how nice this trigger is. Really, all of the Ruger Mark IV pistols have a very nice trigger. They are designed for target shooting, and I think Ruger does a great job with them out of the box. Now, I want to show you what this trigger reset looks like before we go to the Lyman trigger pull weight gauge. So as always, let's drop the magazine, ensure there's no ammunition in it, and of course, visually inspect that chamber, make sure we are clear. It looks like we are good as well. Now, since this gun is a rimfire pistol, it is not advisable that you dry fire, because the firing pin would hit the side of the chamber because it is rimfire, not center fire. However, there's a little trick. You can take these little wall hangers, and sometimes they will feed from the magazine. They're about the same size as a 22 long rifle, and they will go into the chamber. The hammer will hit the rim of those and not damage it, and they will extract, typically. They're not always going to feed right, but this is a good way of testing the trigger. So I will, of course, see if it loads. Looks like we are good, so I can now show you this trigger pull. And very small but very light take up. You definitely hit that wall. Very nice light trigger pull. Now let me go ahead and pull this back. You should see that wall hanger eject, and it does. And it loaded the next one. And now let me show you the reset. Little bit long, but you're right back at that wall. And then again, yeah, a very nice stock trigger pull for this target pistol. So if I'm going to now test the weight of this trigger, I'm going to have to use these after each shot. Sometimes they'll feed, sometimes they won't, so you'll just have to bear with me so I can get enough data so we can get an overall average. So let me load up a couple of these, and let's see what this trigger pulls at. We'll load about 2 at a time. Doesn't like more than 2 or 3. All right, so let's get this gauge on. And let's clear the averages. And here we go for our first pull. 3 pounds, 12.2 ounces. Three pounds, 13.0 ounces. Let me put these back into the magazine. Four pounds, 1.8 ounces. Four pounds, 1.5 ounces. And for our last reading, four pounds, 1.4 ounces, which gives us an average of 3 pounds, 15.6 ounces. It's not the lightest target trigger you'll ever experience, but it is pretty good. Now, if this is not good enough for you, there are a lot of aftermarket options, but I think Ruger does a great job with this trigger right out of the box. So as you can see, this trigger pull is pretty darn nice. So that's the reason why I said I really liked it. All right, so let's get back to the rest of this range report. And as I said, that's not the lightest trigger out there, but for me, it is perfectly adequate for a target gun just like this. I'm not really honestly a fan of triggers that are so light that in a way sometimes they can be dangerous. But this trigger for me is absolutely perfect for the application that it is put in. So now let's talk about a couple things about this gun that I don't like. In fact, both of them deal with the magazine. The first thing I don't like about the magazine is that it really only holds 10 rounds. Now I know this is the standard magazine that has come with these guns for years and years and years, but I never understood why Ruger hasn't redesigned their magazines, especially in today's day where we can get 15 or even 20 rounds of .22 long rifle in a magazine. It just, for me, is a little bit anemic. Now I know people are going to say it doesn't need any more than 10 rounds, it's a target gun. However, many other companies are making guns in .22 long rifle with at least 15 round capacity magazines. So I really think these magazines need an upgrade. Now, something else about this particular gun and all the Mark IVs, Mark IIIs, Mark IIs that I don't like is the angle of this mag. Now this magazine was originally designed for those more angled grips that I was talking about earlier. So when they designed this particular grip module with a 1911 profile, this magazine has to come in at a really weird angle at the back. And I don't like that. I understand why it's angled like this, so this magazine is compatible with both versions of this gun. But for me, that is just way too steep. And I know some people are going to say, well, that's because .22 is a rimfire cartridge, and that angle helps it be more reliable. And that is a fair enough argument. But once again, we see magazines today that are known to be very reliable that don't need this particular angle. But we're going to see if this is going to be a problem later on when I try to do the quick magazine change test. But that's what I like and don't like about this particular pistol. So let's get this thing to the range and let's see how quiet it actually is. Now, before we go to the range, I do need to tell you, I don't own the equipment to actually test the decibel level. So all of this is just going to be kind of qualitative in my personal opinion. I'm also going to be shooting at a range where there are going to be people shooting unsuppressed. So I have to wear my hearing protection, and you're going to hear some other guns unsuppressed being fired, so that might be a little bit of a distraction, but I'm going to do my very best. So here we go. Let's set up the target as always to start out with at 7 yards. I'm going to put 2 magazines through this of CCI Mini Mags, which is the ammunition that they recommend. See how this gun performs and see how accurate it is. So let's get to the range.
watch it. Go ahead and keep an eye on it.
And all I can say is, wow, this thing does everything they claim it will as advertised. I am very, very impressed by this. The tone of this suppressor is great. It's very, very quiet. And of course, being a .22 pistol, the recoil on this thing is pretty much negligible. It's a naturally shooting and pointing firearm with this nice 1911 grip. The trigger is outstanding. Well, it is exactly as I was hoping, so that is pretty darn awesome. Now, I have shot these guns suppressed in the past, but not with a suppressor like this on the monocore and the intricately suppressed barrel. This thing is definitely quieter to my ears. I am very, very impressed with it, and the accuracy for me is really, really good. But of course, this is a target gun. All right, so let's double the distance on this target. I'm gonna go for the head on this IDPA silhouette. So at about 15 yards, I'm just curious how much this group is gonna open up, and will this gun remain to be as accurate as it currently is? So let's go back to the range and see how I do.
Looks like the firearm performed really well. Keep using it before we put any grease, but I see a little bit in there. See a little oil in there on your dry drop. What'll happen is the more you actually a little hint in there. It's gonna get broken in. A little tiny little, just like a new engine can fall out. Pretty good though. That's great. I'll back up with this.
And I'm just gonna tell you, this thing is freaking awesome. It is so much fun. And so really, that's one of the most important boxes any gun can check when I review it, is the gun fun to shoot? And this thing is fun off the scale. This thing is awesome. I am very, very impressed with it. It seems to be exceptionally accurate. It's just a great pistol. Just wow. All right, so the next test I want to do is the Benchrest test. Essentially, I'm just going to shoot this thing from a barrier at the furthest I can put this target out at this indoor range. And I know it's only 20 to 25 yards. However, that's pretty good for what I think this gun is designed to do. So I'm going to try to take as much of the human element out of the equation as possible, put another couple mags through this, and just see how accurate I can shoot it at that distance. So here we go. Let's go for as long as I can at this range. 2 more mags, and let's just have some more fun with it.
I need to get a bag of one of these. I would tell you to buy the brand up to the cost don't last as long. Yeah, it's all perfect.
All right, and so I do need to address some of the ammo issues I'm having. I appear to be having some failures to fire, but it's not the gun's fault, this is the ammunition's fault. You can't do anything about that. That is just the nature of rimfire. You know, one of the things I wish would have caught on is 25 ACP. It gives you about the same ballistics as 22 long rifle, but it is center fire, and I think that has a big advantage over 22 long rifle. But you're just going to have to deal with that when it comes to rimfire ammunition. But overall, when it comes to this gun's accuracy, this thing makes me look like a way better shot than I actually am. This thing is just awesome. And when a gun makes me look better than I really am, well, I'm already falling in love with this thing. This thing is definitely worth the price you would pay for it. And by the way, the price of this gun is pretty significant over the standard Ruger Mark IV because there's a lot of customization that goes into this. But right now, I think it's definitely worth it because for me, this gun is way more shootable and way more fun. But now I want to give my wife Becky a chance to shoot this. She always comes at these guns from a different perspective than I do. She has different shaped hands and she likes different things about the guns. So I'm just curious if after shooting this, there's anything about it that she likes or doesn't like that I think is worth mentioning to you. So let's load up a couple more magazines and see what she has to say. And she absolutely loves this pistol probably just about as much as I do. And I always talk about how the big thing for her when it comes to shooting any pistol is what the grip feels like. Is it too aggressive? How's the angle? And she absolutely loved it. But she likes shooting 1911, so I would expect that she would have no problem with this grip either. So she has absolutely no complaints and also thought this gun was a lot of fun to shoot. Now, so far in this review, I've only been using CCI mini mags, but I'm curious what other types of ammunition are going to do when run through this gun. So I brought about 4 or 5 different types of ammunition, and I'm going to show you what I'm shooting it before I put the magazine through this particular gun. So this is just more of an ammo test to see if we have any function or reliability issues, if anything happens with the accuracy, but I'm going to show you what ammunition I am shooting before I load it. So here we go. Let's shoot about 4 or 5 different types of ammo through this, and let's see what happens.
So that's a three-part. It's also a hammer amplifier, so it has a good detail. You can see that. There you go. Put that left thumb underneath the right thumb. Put your right thumb on top of it.
And everything seems to cycle with the exception of the CCI quiets, which actually I didn't expect for it to run, but I kind of wanted to see how loud it was compared to the supersonic CCI mini mags. And when it came to the suppression of those, it wasn't that much more quiet. When they say this suppressor does a great job even on supersonic ammo, it really does. The quiet ammo was better, but not by much, to be very honest with you. But the gun cycled everything else that was standard velocity or high velocity, including the self-defense rounds. So this thing really runs like a clock. The only issue you would ever have with this gun would be if you have problems with the ammunition, but the gun seems to be absolutely rock solid. All right, so the last test I want to do with this is a combination of three things: the quick magazine change test, the mag dump test, which is honestly the funnest part because I just like to shoot the guns as fast as I possibly can, and also the shootability test. Essentially, just kind of point shoot this. Now, I know you're probably not going to use this gun for self-defense, but that's really what this test is to check out. So the only issue I can foresee having on this test is this magazine. So I already talked to you guys about the angle of this magazine, but sometimes because of my bigger hand, if I'm holding it a certain way and I try to drop that magazine, it doesn't pop out because the back of that magazine rubs on my hand because of that angle. And sometimes it's difficult for me to find where the mag well is because of that angle. You have to insert it from towards the back of the grip, not in the center or the front like you might be used to. So we'll see if that slows me down at all. So here we go, the quick magazine change test. Let's see how fast I can shoot it and how shootable this gun really is without using the sights. And all I can tell you is this gun passed that test with flying colors. I can shoot this gun fast. I had a little bit of a stumble when it comes to changing this magazine out, but no real issues whatsoever. And the gun is a very naturally pointing firearm. This gun simply is so much fun. It's such a nice design. The shootability of this gun is just off the charts, and it suppresses really nice. So what are my final thoughts on the Ruger Mark IV 2245SD made in collaboration with Maxim Defense? Well, there are so many pros to this gun. It's exceptionally accurate for me. The trigger is really nice. The ergonomics are exceptional, especially if you like 1911 pistols with this really nice grip. And the takedown of this gun is very easy as compared to all of the previous generations. And I will be making a field strip video with this, which will be released a couple days after I release the range report on this. I think it only has two cons to it. You have the magazine angle and the magazine capacity. And if I have to complain about anything else, it's the fact that they milled out the slide for a rear sight, but because of the suppressor, you can't have a front sight. So essentially you have this big notch in the back, which I think is kind of ugly, but I understand why it's there because this is probably just a 2245 that was taken off the assembly line and sent to Maxim Defense, so they don't know which ones need to have this cut and which ones aren't. I do think it's just a little bit tacky, a little bit ugly, but I could look past that. So overall, my experience with this gun exceeded my expectations. It shot great, made me look like a better shooter than I actually am, and this gun is simply so much fun. And I'm pretty sure you guys know what the star rating of this review is going to be based on all of the things I have been talking about. Yeah, this gun is going to easily get 5 out of 5 stars. This thing exceeded my expectations. It suppresses so well. The gun is so accurate and it's so much fun to shoot. And I'm definitely going to have to look at maybe picking up one of these in the future because this is just one awesome pistol. And Maxim Defense did such a good job blending and the suppressor to the gun. The finishes match up, the diameter matches up. It is just seamless. It looks absolutely fantastic. This gun is simply just so cool. So 5 out of 5 stars for the Ruger Mark IV 2245, made in collaboration with Maxim Defense. So what do you guys think? Did you guys even know this gun existed? Do you own one? Have you ever shot one? And what do you think of its design being more than just a thread-on suppressor? So, as always, thanks for watching.